Relegation, Moyes, Carroll, losing, Man City, we could go on. Gift of the gab, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Guys United YouTube channel. I'm joined by Dan, fan Dan Goals. I'm Anton, who's laughing for some unknown reason. And still, right, as always, being a West Ham fan, there's lots to talk about. And there's a hell of a lot to talk about. But I'm sure that the boys have got lives to get back to as well. So we won't try and drag this on too much, even though we do love a little moan, a little waffle about our favourite club, which isn't too much of a favourite right now. But how we doing, boys? We good, yeah? Still reason after the weekend?
Good.
Yeah. Right, well, let's straight into it, first of all. Well, I just want to get a quick yes and no answer from three of you, because it's the best way to kick it off, really. I'll go with you first, Dan. We'll go with Stel, and then we'll go with Anton, who, by the way, tonight is monitoring all the live YouTube comments. So those of you with anything to say, Mr. Baker will be monitoring that and telling me exactly what you're saying about me, including my lighting and the fact that my face isn't so ginger as normal. So there are slight improvements. So, yeah. Right, back to the question. Will we survive this season, yes or no? Dan, to you, mate.
Yes, but only because other teams' fixtures are worse than ours. Simple.
Fair enough. I did say yes or no, and you carried on, but okay, no worries, that's fine. We deal with it as it is. All right. Still, yes or no?
Yes.
Right.
Oh, you want me to carry on?
You can do if you want. Dan did. And I stopped doing, did I? So
bit like Dan. Only because there are three teams more shit than we are.
Fair enough. Anton?
Yes. And maybe a little bit like what the guys are saying, but I don't think we're going to get another point. But I suppose technically the other three teams are worse than us. So, yeah, we will stay up only on 35 points.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. You all ignored my yes or no comment, but there you go. All went off your own part. That's fair enough. Okay, right. So, getting on to massive talking points. Obviously, we're all still reeling from the devastating game on Sunday. It was probably one of the worst performances I think we've seen in the West Ham. As a West Ham fans, I think we all realised that it wasn't exactly going to be a great game for us anyway. But you think that in hindsight, when you're actually there watching it, it's not nice to watch at all. We got beat by arguably the better team, but we made them look a hell of a lot better than they were in the first place. Main talking point, we've done the review, we've been past that. I mean, Dan, you weren't on the review, but quick little roundabout about what you thought of the game yourself.
Look, City are the best team in the league. They've proved that all season long, right? But you can't turn up with the attitude that the team did. You know, they were beat before they walked on the football pitch. 10 minutes out of 90 where you play some decent stuff and you close them down, you apply the pressure you should have done all game long is not enough. They had such a defeatist attitude, you could see it. And, you know, I mentioned to you lads in the group chat that we've got, Shearer summed up the performance, the attitude that is obviously grounding that club at the moment perfectly. There's just nothing there. There's no fight. And when you're fighting relegation, they should have showed us a bit more than they did. It was pathetic, and it was it was one of them. It's just you don't want to see it as a fan. You want to see some fight from the team.
Yeah, 1000%. I think, like you said, Shearer summed it up perfectly well on his punditry on Match of the Day. I actually enjoyed listening to him having a rant because I think he just mirrored what we've all been saying as well. And talking of comments, Mr. West Ham, Captain Fantastic, Mr. Mark Noble, has revealed his, has come out with his comments after the game and revealed that basically him and the rest of the team, I can't see this being all the players, but apparently the majority of the team just accepted the fact that Man City were the champions, they were going to be better than us all over the park. And like you say, it's a defeatist attitude. Now, we all know that Mark Noble is apparently a Canning Town boy. He's an East London lad, been through West Ham ranks, all this and all that. But I personally find that to be just the most pathetic response ever. Now, it could be saying it just to fill gaps, just to fill, I'll just say, just keep the toe of the line. Don't say anything that's going to annoy the board or the manager or whatever. Just keep the peace. But for me, it was just a bit sickening, to be honest with you, for our captain to be saying something like that. I don't know how you feel about that still. I mean, Noble's meant to be our captain leading the line, getting the boys pumped up, and he's just flat-lined it out. It's just, he seemed a bit drab to me. I don't know about yourself.
I agree. It's a defeatist attitude, and it's not what you want to hear. because the problem with that sort of comment and the abject performance on Sunday is that you carry that into the next game. And if Noble has come out with this sort of comment saying, well, he's more or less said we were going to lose the game right from the off. And as a captain, I mean, what message are they getting from Moyes? For him to be so defeatist. He's the club captain, as you said, and he should be geeing the players up. I mean, what does that actually say to everyone that's sitting in that changing room? Like, well, we're not good enough, lads. We're not good enough. We're never going to be a Man City. We're never going to be able to compete with these teams. So what's the point? Someone wrote on social media, well, we might as well have just given them the 3 points, and nobody had bothered to turn up for the game. And if that's the attitude, we might as well give Man United the 3 points that's coming up. Because they're a better team than us. Is that what we're going to do when we play Man U? Because they're a better team, we're going to give up. But my worry is it's going to be carried into the next game unless Moyes does some miracle between now and Saturday. That defeatist attitude is not what you want to hear from your captain. Absolutely not.
No, it's not good. And like you say, hopefully, we need a miracle. It seems at the moment because it just doesn't seem to be anything going for us in a positive manner at the moment. Club's in a bit of disarray. Anton, what do you make of Noble's comments, mate?
I just agree with the other guys. I think for someone who has been with West Ham, been a West Ham fan all his life, the fact that he would even allow those comments to get out into the media is, with the current circumstances, with the current circus that's going on at West Ham, it's the last thing the fans want to hear, especially when we're struggling in the bottom, trying to survive in the Premier League. So for Noble to potentially come out and say that and sit in the dressing room, to be honest, they didn't even need to say it because we've seen it when we were watching the game. The attitude of the players when they were out on the park. Someone made a point. Was it Alan Shearer made the point, or someone made the point? Bristol City, Wigan. Yeah. They do you know what I mean? They went out and they gave Manchester City a game. A Manchester City team that lined up against those two, the squad, full stop, could outweigh our squad, left, right, and centre. But they still went out and performed and gave a performance for their side. But for me, as we've all said, we turned up to the game with a defeatist attitude. And in actual fact, I know we're going to talk about it later on. The more I'm starting to see some of the comments, the way the players are playing, they've lost the confidence in Moyes.
Yeah.
The biggest concern for me about the Noble comments is he's supposed to be the captain, right? And if there's one player that the team are supposed to look to for guidance and leadership, is him. He's supposed to be the man on and off the pitch. He's supposed to be the voice for the players. He's supposed to be the leader. They're all supposed to be able to look to him. And can you imagine what them players must be thinking after they've read them comments? How the fuck are they supposed to look to him for guidance now? He's admitting defeat before they've even stepped on the football pitch. You look at someone like Arnautovic who runs himself into the ground each and every week. It's a shame that the whole team are not doing it. But then, our comments like this being said in the dressing room that we haven't seen, and it's just having such a negative effect. It's that them sort of comments, like Ant said, they should never have made it out into the light of day, into the media, because everyone gets to see it now.
And still, we were talking earlier on in the group we were talking in, and you were stating that you were stating about Noble being kind of average, and right enough. I mean, he, in certain points in this season, he was totally underperforming. But again, I can't remember when it was, but when we really needed a performance, Noble was the first one to kind of step up to the mark and G up the team around him. But then through that performance he did earlier in the season, we've all forgotten that he's gone missing again. And he has gone missing probably for the past, 7 games?
I remember earlier in the season when I was calling Noble out, and I was getting slated on social media about it. And then Moyes came in and seemed to turn Noble round. Noble seemed to have gotten a second wind. And I held my hand up and I said, good on him. He's actually, he's doing what a captain needs to do. And I praised him for that. And we have forgotten that in the past few weeks. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not just Noble, but in the past few weeks he's gone missing again. It's what Dan said. You know, he's our captain. You're looking to him for inspiration, and if that's not coming from him, and it doesn't seem to be coming from Moyes, where the bloody hell is it going to come from? You know, and you said, you know, we're not going to get another point this season, but we'll still survive. You know, the other thing that I actually believe that as well. But the other thing that worries me is that these teams below us look like they want to fight to stay in the league. You know, whereas we don't seem to want to. And if our captain is being so negative, then where do we go from here? You know, we may as well just put, you know, the youth out and let them have a go or whatever. It just doesn't seem to be the right thing to do when you're fighting a relegation battle, to almost sound as if you've given up. You know, and that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. It's not obviously, you know, comforting as well. And we need someone to almost grab the ball by the horns, which is kind of like what Arnautovic has been doing. And if I'm honest, I think possibly, you know, right now the captain we need is actually Arnautovic rather than Noble. Noble doesn't seem half as vocal as a captain should be, but of course, what gets released in the press is a lot of times what they want us to hear and read, and you know, we're not there, we're not flying the wall. We don't actually get to see what exactly is said in the dressing room. But I can imagine after the game against City, it was quite heated because obviously we've all heard about the fallout between Carroll and Moyes. It's something that is probably not needed right now in the current situation, and I think Moyes has worked some magic this season, but I think this is his biggest magic trick because he's managed to make everyone hate him and get on Carroll's side. Which for someone like Dan Goals and Dan is it's a very hard thing to do, considering that the actual donkey, or the horse as he likes to be called often, is apparently getting backed up by a lot of fans saying, actually, do you know what, Andy Carroll's got a point. Dan, what do you make of the whole charade, the whole soap opera that is West Ham and Carroll and Moyes right now?
I completely understand Carroll's frustrations after the game on Sunday. You have to look at that game as a whole, right? And if you're an astute manager, you would have looked at that game and you would have thought to yourself at half-time that Otamendi was lucky to be on that football pitch, right? Because they were 2 blatant yellow cards, all right? He's lucky to still be on that pitch. He's on a final warning. The refs told him so, right? You throw a man like Andy Carroll on there to just beat the fucking living daylights out of him and force fouls, because that's what Andy Carroll's going to give you, mate. He's going to give you that. And so, for me, and for him to not get on full stop, and for him to make 3 substitutions at the point that he did, the geezer's lost the fucking plot. So you can see why Andy Carroll's got the ump. Apparently, rumour has it he got up and stormed down the tunnel after, you know, he found out he weren't coming on, and then it's come to blows at training. And in the chat, me and you said the same thing, Luke. Well, I hoped he'd have fucking headbutted the Scottish twat. I really did. I wanted it kicked off. I was like,
not so quite putting in words, but I might have been there. Yeah.
A few gram of gear in his system and get involved, you know. But yeah, mate, I've just had enough of Moyes, though. I've had enough of Moyes. And for me, this is the first sign, and Ant's already touched upon it. He's lost the dressing room. I don't give a fuck about him. And Andy Carroll's the first one. And like you say, though, it is a bit of a miracle, because I'm sitting here now standing up for Andy Carroll. And I don't think anybody thought they'd see that this season.
Yeah, no, it's
certainly did not, mate. Certainly did.
Nah. Anton, would you make it a whole charade, mate?
Do you know what I mean? I think I said something in the review the other night where if you're working for an employer and you kick off, you're going to get your arse kicked. But if your employer's shit and going down anyway, you're going to go down fighting, I suppose you could say. And if anything, I'm glad I seen Andy Carroll do what he was doing, because when he's fit and when he's got a run of games in him, he's fantastic. I just don't think we as a club know how to manage any injured footballers. We've been proven for years that we don't know how to manage injured footballers. When they come back, we throw them into the team, blah, 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 blah. But for me, it's not just Carroll, it stems from every other player. But then Carroll's a little bit like the icing on the cake because it was caught so vividly on the camera screens, where he's just sitting there shrugging his shoulders like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because what and you think about it, what was he doing? What was the benefit to putting all those 3 players on without sticking at Andy Carroll on probably 15, 20 minutes earlier? Like, it doesn't make sense. A lot of the decisions he's making doesn't make sense. And for me, you're starting to see it with Andy Carroll. You're starting to hear it with the whole process behind, is James Collins getting a contract? You're starting to see it with Lanzini's attitude because he's probably turning around going, what is actually going on? You're bringing me off. Do you know what? He's got the right to be a cocky, confident player and get pissed off when he's getting pulled off the park. Moyes is contradictory to himself when he says, look, he gave the goal away, the fourth goal away, so I pulled him off. I mean, listen, David Moyes.
He's arguably the best player on the pitch for us at times, and then he gets pulled off for one mistake. It's pathetic.
But that's his ego trying to take over, and that's him trying to prove or thinking that he is the top manager that he once was when he was at Everton, and the reason why he was taken to Manchester United. But the difference is he worked his backside off years ago with Everton, stayed with them long term. He got taken to Manchester United, which has built his ego up so much, and he dealt with lots of high-level quality footballers that we don't have. And he thinks he can come into West Ham and take our best players and fuck about with them a little bit. It doesn't work that way. To me, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. Yeah, sorry, Stel. Yeah, you go, mate.
Yeah, I kind of agree a lot about the whole Andy Carroll thing. I mean, but I'm a bit in two minds over it because we've got to remember that Andy Carroll's been off, as usual for months, and he's only just come back. And as much as I think this was probably the right game to bring Andy Carroll on, say at the beginning of the second half, to bully Otamendi, to get in their faces, etc. Andy Carroll still has a bit of a cheek to throw his toys out of the pram for being away from, out injured for so long, and then in a way almost expects to just get in the team. So I'm a little bit in two minds over it. But I admit, I think it would have been the right sort of game to bring him on. But at 4-1, it was too late anyway.
It's just silly. It didn't make sense, did it?
Yeah, it didn't make sense. And I know the players were getting ready to come on at 3-1, and then for him to make a decision to pull, probably what might have happened, and it's only a guess. Maybe Carroll was upset because he probably thought he was coming on. Then because Lanzini let that, lost the ball, he probably decided, right, I'm bringing Lanzini off, I'm going to put Mario on instead or something like that. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe Carroll thought he was actually coming on. But who knows? But the whole thing between, this is the last thing we need right now with 3 games to go, is all the egos coming out. Moyes' ego and Carroll's ego and all that, and then Noble's defeatist attitude. I mean, for goodness sake, this the last thing we need right now is to have egos and defeatist attitude. Couldn't be the worst time.
I agree. I think the good thing that I think we've got at the minute is we've got pundits backing kind of the fans up, kind of the fans saying, look, you almost straight after the game there was the snippet from Talk Sport with I think Mark Saggers, so I think it was sitting in review as well, having a moan saying the players aren't doing well enough or the board aren't doing the whole charade. Saying that word a lot now. The whole thing around West Ham is quite poor at the moment. But you say about this still about this last thing we need. Maybe we need it. Maybe we need a bit of an ego clashes. Maybe we need to know the players are caring. They're having a go at each other. They're going to, they do care. They do want to stay up. And
we need players that care, but we don't need to start having egos getting in the way, especially the manager's ego. I'm going to show you who he is the boss, but to give it I'm bringing Lanzini off because he's lost the ball and I'm not putting Carroll on and I'll deal with him.
And still he's so inconsistent with everything he's done. He's so inconsistent with the goalkeepers. The amount of times when you look at our lineup at the beginning when the players are walking onto the park, how many times have you seen a different goalkeeper? It's a joke. Like, we never know what lineup he's going to start up with. It's starting to kind of remind me a little bit of the latter of Slaven Bilic at West Ham, because every single week we had no idea how he was going to line up, no idea what formation he was going to do. Masuaku got dropped, and nobody really understands why Masuaku got dropped and ever came in.
Biggest surprise.
It doesn't make sense what he's doing, and each week, the further into his West Ham managerial career, it's so inconsistent and it's confusing, and it's not just the West Ham fans that are seeing it, as you said, Luke or Dan. It's the pundits that are seeing it, and it's proving with the results that we're getting, because the results, I mean, I know again we'll probably touch on it, but the amount of goals we have conceded, or the amount of 3+ goals since David Moyes has arrived at the club since November, nine times we've conceded 3+ goals,
He's got
of which six of those teams
win record as well.
are in and around us. 6 of those teams are in and around us. So we're not bags on to get any points for the rest of the season. Absolutely not, in my opinion. Sorry.
No, it's fair enough. No, everything you're saying is right. And the funny thing is, but in my opinion, since Moyes has taken over, he's had a really inconsistent form of his managerial term. It's either been really bad, then really good, and we've got a few results here, got a few performances here, then players get injured, players don't get injured. And now it's just starting to point out that maybe this whole defensive kind of approach isn't exactly what we need. I mean, two things. I'm going to put this question into 2 parts, and I'll give you all a chance to answer. First of all, I'll spread this to you, Dan, first of all. A, do you think he's either losing or he's lost the dressing room? And B, do you think part of that, if he has, could be down to either the way he's playing? Because the rumour that I saw on social media yesterday was some players are airing their concerns about our approach to games, i.e. how defensive we are. So, yeah, do you think he's either losing or lost the dressing room? And do you think that basically, this defensive approach is just going against him, and he should actually be taking a bit more of a risky approach? I'll send it to you, Dan, first.
I think if he hasn't lost all of the dressing room, he's definitely lost parts of it. I think the Andy Carroll spat, as that's one player, and I'm pretty sure there's others that feel the same. I've said a lot about Masuaku. I think he's a bit inconsistent, but at a time where he's playing well, and he's actually, getting a bit of run of form together, and then to go and drop him for Patrice Evra, who has been off the pace since he joined, doesn't make sense. And so you can understand why, the players are going to have problems with it. And I totally agree that the defensive approach has got to be one of the reasons why. He's the most defensive manager that concedes the amount of goals that he does. How can you be a defensive mastermind? That's what he was renowned for though when he came in at Everton. Was his ability to keep clean sheets and keep games tight. They're not fucking tight anymore. 3-0s, 4-1s. It's like he's doing it for fun. Yeah. It's like he's got money on it. It's a joke how many goals that we ship. It's just phenomenal that a defensive coach can shift goals like that. And yeah, that's got to be having a negative effect. Look, you only have to look at. I'm not in any way comparing us to Liverpool. We're not Liverpool, but Liverpool ain't been beat by City this season. And is it no surprise that Liverpool hit them on the counter-attack and got in their faces, closed them down and attacked them, and that's where their success come from. And, we did that for 10 minutes, and look how successful it was. So why in that second half were we so slow to get started again, concede early, and there goes the game plan? Marcus said it in the group chat the minute that we were 1-0 down. All right, Moyes, there's your starting line-up. You fucked it up again. Where's your plan B? He ain't got one. He's fucking useless. And I think a lot of that is starting to rub off on the players.
Yeah, no, very good point. Still,
give me the two questions again, mate.
Is he either losing or lost the dressing room? And is part of that down to the way he's playing, i.e. too defensively? Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the Man U players, when he was managing Man U, talk to him behind the scenes and about the way he was playing?
There's a lot of things going around about that. Yeah, could be one of them.
And maybe if it's true, maybe our players are doing the same. Dan is absolutely right. Why set up to be defensive and then get tonked 4-1 2 weeks in a row? I don't actually get that. You may as well put more attacking players on and get tonked 4-1, but by having a go. And what worries me is I think it was after last weekend, not this weekend, but last weekend's game when we got beat 4-1, and he came out with something like there were too many attack-minded players on the pitch.
Still coming from the guy who trained without a ball. Remember,
trained without a ball. Because he knew we weren't going to have it for 90 minutes. But I mean, when he's coming out with comments like that he thought there were he had too many attack-minded players on the pitch. What's he going to do? I know we might sort of talk about, the next game coming up, but we hear that Ginge and Obiang might be fit. He might throw them in because they're defence-minded players, and drop yet another bloody attack. It'll be Arnie up front on his own with 5 defence-minded midfielders and then 3 at the back. If he's going to play defensively, if that's what he's renowned for, then at least, as Dan's highlighted, at least keep a clean sheet. Because boy, oh boy, we need a clean sheet. in the next game. That would be really nice. But I don't understand. So maybe the players are having a word with him about the style of football. But if they are having a word with him about the style of play, that means they have lost confidence in him. Yeah. So the two questions sort of go hand in hand. Yeah. So they don't trust what he's doing. They don't trust his tactics, his approach, and if those rumours are true, then he has lost the team. Absolutely.
Okay. Anton, do you want me to repeat the questions, or do you know?
No, it's fine. Yeah, for me, he has lost the dressing room. You think back to earlier in the season, he started off by calling out Arnautovic. He was calling out Adrian, Hart. He's been calling out some of the midfield players, probably Kouati. He's called out Lanzini. He's having a problem with Carroll, and he's not playing Hernandez. So for me, there's just too many kind of stories there. Players I've mentioned that we all know that he's publicly. He called out Declan Rice for a mistake he made, but for me that wasn't great man management of a young player who's performed probably at one of the highest levels in our team and not really made a mistake. And you can give someone of that age and that's coming into our team that mistake or a couple of mistakes he's made. For me, he has 100% lost the dressing room. What was the second question, Luke?
Down to basically a defensive approach. Is it going against this mentality-wise? Are we not looking forward to games anymore?
I'm just reiterating what the two guys have said. But at the end of the day, Swansea played Manchester City the week before. They lined up defensively. They're only a one place above us. They got smashed 5-0. What do? We go into the game the week after, set up defensively. When Manchester City are trying to break records for scoring goals, getting the most amount of points, they turn up to the London Stadium with space. And what are they doing? They're looking at our two fullbacks, Patrice Evra and Zabaleta, and thinking, bang, bosh. And that's all they've done all day. And twinkle toes, Raheem Sterling, on happy dancing day, that whatever it was, as I've stated, twinkled his way all around our defence and our team. And it was just an embarrassment. But he's been doing it all season, to be honest. And you can tell he's been doing it all season because we have a natural born goal scorer sitting on the bench, comes on, plays his heart, sometimes plays his heart out, scores some goals, gets a bit of form, then gets dropped. It doesn't make sense to me. Dan, I know you've got kind of your suspicions or whatever on Hernandez, but when you have a player that is on form, in my opinion, say 3 goals out of 4, you don't then drop the guy. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
Do you know what? It's interesting you say that, because I mentioned after the game, didn't I, that he was pretty shit after he come on. But do you know what? He had the body language of a man who was resigned to the fact that in the summer he was not going to be a West Ham player, and he was just fucking get me out of here. That's what he looked like. His first touch was atrocious. He makes Lukaku look good. Honestly, he made Lukaku's first touch look good at the weekend, but he didn't even chase the ball down. Shearer picked up on it. He didn't even bother when he lost the ball, but he just looks like a man who is resigned to the fact that David Moyes don't like me and I'm off in the summer. Just get me out of here. He was waiting for Ant to come out and fucking walk him across the bridge. Awful, mate.
Yeah, it does make for awful reading. I mean, I'll get into Hernandez in a second because it's a massive talking point. It's something that I find myself arguing, especially on Sunday, with quite a few people that I know personally as well. Some comments made about him, I think, are they're not deserving. I think it's just literally just moaning at a certain player for certain reasons. Regarding Moyes' comments on players, I think Stuart Pearce come out after Declan Rice's mistake against Arsenal and said, "Look, you're playing a man's game. If you make a mistake, you have to deal with it and move on. It's professionalism in the day," which I do agree with to a massive point. And I think there is a part of Moyes that maybe wants to try and appease West Ham fans by saying what we're all thinking. What a lot of us are thinking, that, he's made a mistake and, the heat of the moment and stuff like that. But he's got to remember that, he's a professional manager at the end of the day, and these things can be said behind closed doors. For example, Zabaleta's come out today and backed Rice and all that and the rest of it. And regarding Lanzini, only geezer trying to make anything happen against Man City, and he gets, had to go out for it. So, again, not very nice to hear from your own manager. Regarding Hernandez, look, when we signed him, I think we can all agree that it was a luxury signing because we thought that finally, just maybe with the players we're signing in this season, it'll be a lot better for us, and we'll maybe build a team around him, and he'll be the focal point. He'll be fitter than Andy Carroll, and he'll score a lot more goals and all the rest of it. we're not playing him in a way that he's ever played in his career, and it's showing. And no wonder he's pissed off. That's just my opinion of it. But I doubt he's going to be the only one looking for the exit door in the summer. And it's people are saying a clear out. I am going a little bit here, but I'm saying people are saying a clear out. We need a clear out, but it's whether the club can get in the players to. They have to be as better than them, just as good. I mean,
I think Luke, there will be a clear out, but the unfortunate thing is it's going to be a clear out of all the players that we don't want to see go.
Yeah.
Because we've all talked in our WhatsApp chat about Lanzini, and some of you guys are saying he'll be gone this summer. I don't want to see him go, but potentially he could go. We just mentioned Hernandez. Another player. We for once we get a top class striker, and he's going to probably go. And those are the players that we're going to end up losing. I don't think we're going to give a toss about losing one or two of the other players who haven't shown up for the last couple of seasons, but you've just touched on it again. We're going to lose these good players, but are we actually going to replace them with equal or better? And the chances are we're not. And that's going to be the disaster of this summer. I said it in the review after the game at the weekend. It's going to be a big summer for us. The board are going to have to sort of really look to bring in some decent talent. But we know they're not. We know they're not likely to do it. So they'll end up raking it in on Lanzini and Hernandez.
The biggest problem we've got is we need a manager that's got some fucking bollocks to come in and just turn around and go, do you know what? No, I don't want that player. This is the player I want, because that's the only way you're going to change this ball's mentality.
I completely agree with what you've just said there. I completely agree.
They've got to have the only way you are going to change the ball's mentality. You've got someone like David Moyes who's a yes man. He'll sit there and just go, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. Oh, you want that player? Yeah, that's fine. I'll take him.
We know he's a yes man because he accepted a 6-month fucking deal with the club. That's a yes man for you, 100%. Any top level manager who believed in himself would have gone, no, 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, and then everyone would be knocking it back. But he was fighting to prove who he is. Quickly, I just wanted to quickly point out that the stats for Chicharito this season, he's had 28 appearances, of which 12 of them were as a sub. So he started 16 games, and he's got 8 goals. For me, that is a massive message to the West Ham manager, the board, whatever. This player has the ability, when he starts, when he gains form, when he gets... And I think most of his goals have been scored pretty much when he starts the game. That we need to get this boy in the park a lot more. But unfortunately, we've got 3 games to go. And I don't think whatever he does now, that he would want to stay at this club anyway. And for me personally, I don't blame him.
Unless Moyes, I think that, if Moyes was to go and they brought in another manager, he might give that next manager a chance. But it depends who it is that comes in.
Exactly.
It does I mean, he's going to want a manager that's going to want to use him to his strengths. He's going to want a manager that's going to want him to sit up top and not have to do all the graft that he's been expected to do under both Bilic and Moyes. So, we need a young, attack-focused manager to come in. We know we're not going to get it. We're going to get some fucking dog shit from League One probably, but that's West Ham and that's our board. But we do. I honestly think we just need a manager with some fucking bollocks to come in and go, nah, I'm not having it. These are the players I want. You either deliver or I'm off. Ta-ta.
Couple of comments coming in from YouTube just to let you know, keep us up to date. Corky Ricky, Moyes needs to go attacking from now on and stop a world class striker warming the bench. Wake up, Moyes. Sigur Jonansson, he's probably right, but there could have been more fight. I think he's relating that to just the side, full stop. Chris B says Hernandez doesn't start games because he doesn't offer anything other than poaching goals in the 6-yard box. He has no hold-up play, not the best touch, can't tackle, and doesn't press. He is even highlighted on the weekend when he came on within 2 minutes. He was jogging with no effort, as you said, Dan.
I would reply to that, though, in that when we bought Hernandez, we bought him to be a poacher. We didn't buy him to tackle. We didn't buy him to close down. We didn't buy him to play on the wing. We bought him to be in the box.
Well, we did in the chat, and he came back to saying, don't get me wrong, I love him and all. He's the last person you need in a fight when the team is playing well and are making chances. He's ideal. Yeah. There's a reason he hasn't got a proper run of games at any other clubs he's been with. Would love to see him play with a partner, but him by himself, he doesn't offer enough.
If there's one thing you can say about Chich, right, I guarantee you, if you offered him to United, City, Liverpool, they'd all have him. All of them would have him.
Yeah.
And they'd use him far more effectively. Trust me, United would have him back. Jose Mourinho's come out and said many a time he was gutted to lose him, but he just couldn't offer him the football. So it just shows you.
I must admit, them stats you read out a little while back, a moment ago, sorry, Anton, about his starts and his sub-appearance, I'm actually shocked because from my memory this season, I've hardly seen him. And it's you know, there's a few great goals that he scored. I'm not saying great goals, but there's a few well-taken goals that he scored. But it doesn't seem like he's played almost. I mean, that almost seems like half a season worth of appearances, and I can't even remember half the time I've seen him.
Remember what I said there? Look, those 16 of those are starts. We've already played 35 games this year.
I know, but it's just even that should be like those starts should be in my head thinking. But what I can think is the goals that he scored when we needed to, Brighton, for example, and all the rest of it. But no, I mean, you know, all the comments are very spot on. Everything that you guys are saying, you know, I couldn't agree more with. I think we, as a unit, we all kind of agree with the same sort of thing. We don't tend to really outright, you know, disagree with anything, unless you're Marcus, of course, but he's not here, so he can't defend himself. But there you go. Just moving on, we're talking about players, obviously, Hernandez, we just spoke about Hernandez and Noble and the rest of it, and Carroll. One player who is in the dark over his future is Ginger Pele, and it's come out recently, very, very recently, that he's not had any contact at all from the manager regarding his future at the club. Just in my opinion, you're talking about someone who, you know, against Arsenal, come and sat with the fans. I'm not. Look, as a professional, I can't. You know, you're either good enough or you're not. Simple as that. You know, we were always passionate about West Ham fans, but we're all not good enough to put our boots on and play for the team. But this guy's been there, and every time we've asked him to do a job, he more or less does it. He does it with a lot of pride. Guys, I mean, I'll go with you first, actually, Anton, on this one, seeing as I keep calling you Ginger, but you're not, apparently. Would you like to see Ginger kept on? I mean, I'm talking playing capacity or coaching capacity, because I don't think he wants to lead the club, and I think he would take a coaching role if he was offered that. Would you like to see him kept on?
100% yes. The guy he's given us, he's been with us for a long time, over two different occasions, and all he's ever done is offer us heart. He plays for the crest, he plays for the claret and blue. He's got a really good connection with the fans, but out with that, he is a top-notch centre-half. My biggest issue with the whole Ginger Collins process is how we manage him. Again, it falls down to the man management of a player. For me personally, when he is fit, he steps in for 2 games and then he needs to pull back. He needs to be on our... Because I would happily offer him a year's contract with the progression moving into coaching, because I think he's got that ability. But he can sit on our bench and cover. The problem with West Ham is when he sits on the bench and then comes in as cover, we then keep him in for 5 or 6 games. Then he gets injured again and then we lose him again. And it's consistently over the past couple of years. But the way that West Ham... whoever is in the decision maker of James Collins, to leave him with 3 games to go at this stage of his career, he's retired from the Welsh football and he's stated he wants to stay at the club, and still not give him a decision when what you have said, Luke, is he's got the balls enough to go and sit in the crowds with the fans. I know still you met him. I mean, not many players do that these days, but he's the one out of the whole squad that's taking the time and effort to go and sit in during the game, not even sit with the squad, come in with the fans. And he's got that connection with us, and that's the sort of players we need in our wings. I'm not saying James Collins starts every single game. I'm absolutely not saying that. But for me, he needs to be in and around the squad, on the bench, moving into a coaching role moving forward. Yeah,
totally. And, you know, your thing about mismanagement there, I mean, you know, lo and behold, he's not the only one being mismanaged at the club. And I think West Ham have got a history of doing that. Of course, like Anton said, still, you were close enough, you know, to Ginge at Arsenal to smell his aftershave. So did he not mention you give you any gossip about, you know, staying at all, no insider knowledge?
Yeah,
or
I had a half-hour chat with him, if only. No,
over a pint, I'm sure.
Fair to him. He was there with his kid, and he had loads of blokes, you know, loads of fans coming up and wanting to have photos taken of him. And he was obliging, you know, not he didn't turn around at any time and go, leave me alone, I'm with my boy, etc., etc. He was totally obliging, and he's got an affinity with the club. He said it. He's a fan. You know, he's had 2 spells with us, and he loves playing for West Ham. He loves being there, and I would give him a contract, but it's the same. I wouldn't give him a contract just as a player. It'd be a coaching player role, because you know what, you know,